And whenever you're ready, sir.
Alright. Don't judge the person to your left or to your right, because it's against what God told us to do. Matthew 7 is a verse about how Jesus tells us not to judge other people. When we judge other people, we condemn ourselves, and Jesus, not us, is the judge of living and the dead. Don't look at the speck in your brother's eyes. Instead, focus on the sin that you have yourself. Matthew chapter 7, verse 1 is a direct quote from Jesus not to judge other people. It says, "Judge not, that you not be judged." This came from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Now, it comes from the book of Matthew also. Matthew is a really interesting book. It used Jewish standards to connect Jesus to his Jewish roots. For example, according to Called by the Gospel, a book from Pastor Duderding, Matthew uses the 6th hour as a Jewish recounting of time, which means noon. This is interesting because other Gospels, such as John, uses the Roman recounting of time, when the 6th hour means 6 a.m. This was important in the Passion of Jesus to recount when different things happened throughout the day. Matthew also connected Jesus through his Jewish roots through David, which was an important aspect of the Jewish tradition because of David's covenant with God. Matthew chapter 7 verse 1 is a direct quote not to judge other people. Jesus says that we should not judge directly, and Paul builds on this in his letters to the Roman churches. Romans chapter 2 verse 1b says, when we judge others, we judge ourselves, and we also condemn ourselves. This shows how hypocritical it is to judge someone when you do the exact same thing. Now Acts chapter 10 verse 42 tells us that Jesus is the judge of the living dead, not us. This shows that Jesus has the power to judge, but not you, and not anyone else, and not me. According to the Bible, we have no right to judge other people. However, some of the scribes and Pharisees thought they had the right to judge and stone a woman on behalf of what she did. John chapter 8 verses 4 through 11 is a recounting of the story of the adulteress and Jesus. In this story, the scribes and Pharisees brought an adulteress who was caught in the act to Jesus to see what he would do. Now in this time it was standard to stone the people who committed adultery. Jesus, however, surprised them by saying, "Let the person who is without sin cast the first stone." Everyone left because they were sinful, and they were not without sin. Jesus was the only one who was left because he was without sin. He was the only one who could cast the stone. He surprises the reader again, however, by saying, "Neither do I condemn you. Now go and sin no more." As you can see, this is an image of a man holding stones to illustrate how we are always ready to condemn other people or cast stones at them. Jesus, however, does not carry stones. Instead, he carries forgiveness. Jesus didn't condemn her, so why should we judge other people and condemn them? Remember, Jesus, not you, is the final judge. If we know this, we also realize that no one else can judge us, and what other people think of us doesn't really matter. Even if you aren't a Christian, you can take comfort in these words, knowing that Christians don't judge you because you're just as sinful as you are. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 1 tells us that we are dead in our sins, which is important for us to know when we think about judging other people. Those scribes and Pharisees were hypocrites for trying to pick out the speck in her eye and ignoring the logs of sin in their own. Luke chapter 6 verse 42 tells us that we should not focus on the speck in our brother's eye, but instead focus on the log, or all the sin that we have in our own. This verse and passage puts a mirror in front of our eyes to show us how we are sinful and that we shouldn't condemn other people. Jesus knew that we tend to ignore our faults and focus on the faults of others. This passage describes the sin of other people as a speck to emphasize how illogical it is to judge other people. Judging is against exactly what God told us not to do. Matthew 7 is a great verse for telling us not to judge other people. We shouldn't judge other people because when we judge other people, we condemn ourselves. And we should ignore the speck in their eye and focus on the logs or all the sin that we have in our own. Now, if you turn to your handout, you will see a Bible verse I chose from the book of James. And it really talks about the evil of judging, which I thought was pretty important. Christians and non-Christians alike, don't judge the person to your left or to your right.
Thank you very much. Do you want a round of applause?